In this video, we're going to talk about fidelity of prototypes and what's best to use for customer research. And the framework we're going to use is Marty Kagan's framework. Marty is just a great product person. He was the first product manager at eBay and led their product team through their explosive growth. He's had a number of amazing product roles and worked with great companies. He also wrote a great book called Inspired: How to Create Products That Customers Love, which I highly recommend. It's a really, really good book. And he has a great way of looking at prototypes. He breaks it down into 4 different types. The first is a feasibility prototype. Then there's a low fidelity prototype, a high fidelity prototype, and a live data prototype. And that's all the different prototypes you do before you go to live code. We're going to talk about each one of the different prototypes and the pluses and minuses of each. The first is the feasibility prototype. And the goal of that is to experiment. It's done by the developers, and the goal is to experiment with technology and determine what's achievable, and do it early on so it can help inform product decisions and design decisions. It helps developers resolve implementation risks and assess feasibility. It does require developer time, but it's really, really important to do. The next is the low fidelity prototype, which can be done in Balsamiq or some very basic, mock-up tools. The point here is to visualize with the product and engineering team the early versions of the product or the feature that you're thinking about, and have those kind of discussions with the product team and the engineering team. It's quick and easy to do. You can put these together in a very short time period and iterate really, really quickly. Everything is drag and drop, so really easy to do. It does not require developer time. The limitation is that you don't want to use this to validate with customers and even stakeholders. Some stakeholders are not really good at looking at these. Even if you make them interactive, some stakeholders really struggle with, if they're not hardcore product people, they really struggle with but this is not what I want them to look like, and so you just want to be careful with where you use this. But there's definitely a lot of value in low fidelity prototyping if it's used properly. Next is high fidelity prototypes, and the goal of that is now you're starting to use for qualitative research on customers and or internal stakeholders. These can be done very quickly with images that you upload to maybe like a tool like InVision, which is a great tool. Validately has our own prototyping tool. You can upload images. You can create high fidelity prototypes with a product like Axure. A lot of people like to do it in HTML. Some UX designers love HTML and like to do their prototyping in HTML. So very easy and quick to do. It doesn't require developer time, and you can do really rich qualitative research. The one thing to be clear is, while you're putting this prototype together, you want to just make sure you understand that there's real value in getting the qualitative feedback. But even if you get really, 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 really positive qualitative feedback, and even if during the research people pass the cost question, which is a critical question that we talk about in the videos when we talk about demand validation, it does not prove demand with 100% certainty. So you don't want to overinterpret the results, but it is really, really, really good in getting, eliminating product ideas that definitely aren't going to work and or finding usability issues. But you just don't want to overinterpret the feedback you get from high fidelity to say this is guaranteed going to work. Everyone's going bonkers over this prototype. Temper it, but definitely use it to learn and validate. And then there's the live data prototype, and this is really the same thing as the high fidelity prototype. It's just hooked up to some sort of database in a limited way. It's not production level code, but it is hooked up to some customer data, and you can use it to get more statistically significant qualitative research on customers. So really further demand validation without requiring production level code, but it does require significant developer time because you are now starting to make things work and actually hook up to real data. And in my opinion, my personal opinion, this is, I don't know if Marty would support this or not, but my personal opinion is it's significantly higher costs to do live data prototyping over high fidelity prototyping, and I believe questionable benefit relative to the cost. So you definitely will get more learning, but it's certainly not required to do live data prototyping You can get a ton of great, rich user feedback from high fidelity prototypes with dramatically lower cost. So those are the 4 different type of prototypes that you can use to run usability tests.